Hello, students, and welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyan Manjri Vidyapeeth for the students of Standard 10, in which we are learning the subject of social science. Students, from today onwards, we are going to start with chapter number 20, which is the second chapter in the civics part of the syllabus. This is lecture number 1 for chapter 20. Name of the chapter is Social Problems of India and Challenges. Now, there are lots of social problems and lots of challenges that India has to face. So, let us learn about those social problems that are faced by India. And these are the same social problems which become a challenge for us because we want to develop economically, we want to develop harmoniously, taking whole of the population together. We have one of the bulkiest constitution in the world. The very first line of the constitution states that there is equality over here, right to equality, right? Everybody is considered equal over here. We are brothers and sisters. So we have to take whole of the population together. Now, India has quite a good heritage starting from Indus Valley civilization, and before that we have learned in the 7 chapters of history part of the syllabus. Even before the Indus Valley civilization, even during the Stone Age, people were living over here. So the ancestry or the people living before us who made these customs, tradition, who made up this society, right? Whole of this society has been given to us as a heritage because we have so many different religion, caste, creed, uh, people living in India. Then also we have unity in diversity. But small issues always come up which temporarily uh, stop the path of progress that India is making. So let us look at the problems that are faced by India in the terms of social problems and some of the challenges that we face. These are the 6 topics that we are going to learn in this chapter. First one is communalism, second one is casteism, third one is about the minorities, the fourth one is about SC and ST, that is scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Next comes rebellion, insurgency, terrorism. All these are the problems that India is facing right now. Many of the problems are quite global. For example, terrorism is a global harassment, right? Each and every country faces terrorism, and terrorism makes disrupts the path of progress that the country is making. It gives a setback when the country has to face the acts of terrorism. Many places we have rebellion, lots of places communalism also happens. So these are not the problems that only India is facing because the world has now become a small village because of the speed of transportation, because of the speed of communication. So the world has become smaller. Lots of rules and regulations have been lightened by the countries. So people keep on migrating from one country to another country for the idea of getting more prospects. So each and every country nowadays has a homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture of people living over there. They very beautifully blend in the society they are living in. Still, on the whole, then also there will be small issues that will come up because different kinds of people are living in the country. So they always pose a social problem to the country and thus temporarily set back the country, whichever way it is progressing, is culturally, economically. So let us learn these problems, social problems of India, one by one. The first one to come is communalism. First, we should understand what is the meaning of communalism. Of course, this is a textbook definition, right? So, let us learn the textbook definition first. When a person or a group of person identifies itself as an organized or aggressive unit against any other religion or sect and behaves accordingly, then it is called communalism. Communalism is usually based on religion. We have already learned about that, we have already discussed about that. A person is born into a religion, he doesn't have a choice, right? He is born to his parents, his or her parents, and his or her parents, they are following some religion. So he is born into a religion and he is brought up in that family. um, Lots of valued lessons he learns from the parents, from the elders, from the society, right? And he follows that same religion, right? So when one person or a group of people identifies itself with as an organized and aggressive unit and considers its religion more superior than others, the other the other people following some other religion may be in a small group, so this large group is able to dominate on them. Sometimes the population of both the units might be the same, but then one religion people always try to dominate other people religion, so now and then clashes between these two groups happen. People become more aggressive when some religious matter is becoming an issue. So, when a person or a group of people identifies as an organized, they work in an organized manner and they are aggressive against any other religion or sect or behave accordingly, then such an act is called an act of communalism. Even after so many years of independence and growing as modern country, India has not been able to solve the problems of communalism because it's the mindset of people that is working over here. We have become modern. We can see lots and lots of changes happening in the mega city, in the bigger cities of the state, in the smaller cities, towns, villages, even in the rural area. We see lots of modernization happening. But we are not able to change our mindset, or we are not able to change the mindset of the society which is based on religion. So now and then clashes happen at small level, or when those clashes take up a bigger issue, then uh, part of the society, the working of the society disrupts and people come face to face because of communalism. Uh, Lots of bloodshed also happens many times because of communalism, right? So even after so many years, India is still not able to solve this problem of communalism, though we call our society as modern society. Effects of communalism on society. It is very important to note. Now, when we have a problem, we should try to solve it we should try to solve it methodically so that our approach towards the problem is logical, reasonable, and we are able to solve the problem in a very good way. So, effects of communalism on society. Feeling of communalism leads to communal tension in the society, right? When such tension mounts in the area or in the city or in a particular region, yes, the society becomes tense because of communal tension that is happening. Sometimes it may result in communal violence also, and uh, usually the area or the region gets sealed off. Lots of security forces are needed to control, to keep a control over there, so that people do not come out of their houses, do not increase tension, and acts of violence are not done. Because when acts of violence happen, bloodshed also happens. There is lots of damage to men and material both. Lots of public property, private property is set fire on, destroyed, damaged. So there is lots of tension prevailing. Our normal life that we are leading gets disrupted for quite a long time until that tension settles down, or that problem is solved, or people come to a compromise. So for time being, feeling of communalism leads to communal tension in the society. People having strong communal feelings try to show that their religion is superior compared to other religion, and give more importance to religious interest. When communal tension happens, this happens because one set of people following a particular religion, they try to prove their religions more superior than the others. Then the other party is also not going to sit calmly. They will also try to fight back. When that the situation comes to that, then the tension keeps on mounting, and people try to prove themselves more superior. They try to prove themselves their religion more superior, and thus the tension keeps on mounting. Such people do not look at other people with equality. That is the main point. Yes, in India we have secularism. The meaning of secularism is uh, that we have not, India has not accepted any of the religion as its state religion. You see, Western countries, many of them, they are completely based on Christianity. People come from outside. Yes, for example, Germany, France. We lots of Indians also settled over there since quite a long time. The government over there, they have, after much fighting, they have been able to get a permission to build a temple or a gurdwara or a mosque over there. But the basic population is Christianity, right? So whether declared or not in the constitution, we do accept that these countries, Western countries, most of them, they have Christianity as the main religion. Then the population of people following Christianity is also certainly going to be more than the other religions who have come from outside, or people following other religion than Christianity. So Christianity is going to be in majority, and rest of the other religions are going to be in minority, right? So it always happens that people of the people following the region where majority is their religion, people following their religion, they have a superior uh, they have a superior complex, right? Superiority complex, and they try to prove that their religion is the best. That they enter into clash with the, or they make the others they discriminate people on the basis of religion, and so the tension keeps on increasing. So such people do not look at other people with equality, they look them with communal perspective. Yes, that he is not from my religion, that is the first thing that they see. Yes, he belongs to another religion. So discrimination already starts happening when you see that this person is not belonging to my religion, he belongs to other religion, right? So I should get the help and support from my religion, I should help and support people belonging to my religion and not others. So once the discrimination starts, it keeps on happening. This kind of feelings, they divide the society into lot many compartments. Effects of communalism on country and its constitution. Now we talked about the society. Now let's talk about the country as a whole and the constitution. Religion is a matter of faith according to the constitution, and Vasavi, religion is a matter of faith, right? If you think that you are in this religion and if you have faith, that's very good. But somebody else is following another religion, he also has faith on his religion, right? So this way we have faith on our religion, same way we should have faith on other people's religion. We should respect the faith that people have in their own religion, showing respect towards other religion. Mostly every person follows one or another religion or sect of the religion. Sect of the religion means parts that are compartments that are within that same religion. For example, if we take the uh, Islamic religion, then they have Shias and Sunnis. We take Jain religion, they have Shwetambar, the Gambar. So these are the sects. They follow the same religion, but in some another way, right? So they have divisions in that. Yeah, there are lots of divisions in uh, Hinduism also. You take Christianity also, they are also Protestant and Roman Catholic and Orthodox Christian. They have lots of different sects. All of them follow Christianity, but then they follow it in their own way. They have their own way of following or having faith in the religion and worshipping their gods in one way or another. So they are belonging to the religion, but they belong to a certain sect in that religion. So every person follows one or another religion or one or another sect. Moreover, India is a secular country. Secular country we already understood, where all the religions are treated equally. So people of various religions live over here. Why did we have to accept secularism? Because there are so many people belonging to so many religion, it becomes impossible to give proper weightage to one religion, and we cannot discard other religion, because that might be a minority in one state, but that might be a majority in another state. So in order to come above all these differences, we, the makers of the constitution, they declared our country as a secular country. That means we treat all the religions equally, and we do not have any religion, we have not declared any religion as the state religion, because we look at all the religions equally. Having feeling of communalism is not only against the society, but it is also against the spirit on which our constitution is made. We are very much hating our own constitution, because constitution says each and every religion is equal, but then communalism also persists in the same society. So what we are doing is we are going against what was written down in the constitution. Now we come to the negative impacts of the communalism. Communalism is harmful in various ways. It leads to social tension in the country. The matter comes up at one place, but very short time, the whole of the issue spreads to uh, adjoining areas and to the adjoining states also, and all of a sudden there is a feeling of communalism spreading all over the country. People look at each other with suspicion because they do not belong to their religion. So every other religion or the opposite religion, they look at them suspiciously. People having communal feelings do not look at every citizens equally. Such people consider themselves superior to others, that we already. People consider their own friends belonging to different religion as enemies or rivals. Take for example, yes, you are a class of 30, 40, 60, whatever. All of you sit together, but all of you do not follow the same religion, right? But all of you are friends. All of you are classmates, all of you are schoolmates, and we have seen when the schools were running properly and you used to come to class. Yes, you did not look at anybody, you did not look at any of your classmates as belonging to other religion. You all shared your pencils, erasers, sharpeners, books, pencils, whatever, right? Your material, or you even shared your tiffin with them. Somebody might not have brought tiffin, right? You didn't ask them any time in your life, you belong to which religion. If you are belonging to my religion, then I'll give. So that was the unity that is prevalent in the society. But when communal tensions come up, it even your friends who are belonging to other religion, they look like enemy. So communal tension leads to communal quarrels and sometimes even riots, where violence happens. You must have seen that on television, etc. ST buses or vehicles, they are set on fire, and lots of forces have to be brought over there. People stone them, and lots of tension is prevailing in the society. Whole of the life comes to a standstill in that area where communal violence is happening or riots are happening. So what we are discussing over here is our life comes to a standstill. Students cannot go to schools, colleges, etc. People cannot go to work. Yes, their earning stops. Yes, the um, worst condition is of the poor people who are on a daily wages. They cannot just go out of their area because the administration does not allow them to control. They want to control the situation over there. So they are without work, they are without earning, and the family suffers very badly in such situation. So at the end, who is suffering? The citizens of the country. Yes, just because some people think that their religion is superior to others, or some insult is done to their religion, yeah, right? So these issue keeps on coming up now and then, and we have lots of unrest in the area. We have lots of unrest in the country. Communalism is harmful for democracy, national integrity, and development of nation. We said we have democracy. In democracy, everybody is treated equally. But when communalism happens, then it is very harmful for the democracy also. National integrity, the oneness that nation has, yes, is at that time divided into parts. People divide themselves according to religion, and national integrity becomes a question. And development of the nation comes to a halt over there. As we said, as we just discussed, yes, people cannot go to work, students cannot continue with their studies, uh, we cannot even have sometimes food, etc., because the markets are shut down, police and the paramilitary forces are over there. We are having curfew because of the tension. Whole of the life over there comes to a standstill. There is quite a lot of loss to the public property, private property, and development of the nation comes to a standstill over there for a time being. Having feeling of communalism is not only against the society but also against the spirit on which the constitution is framed. Now, struggle against communalism. Now, communalism is there and we have to accept it. Now comes the way how to fight communalism. We don't have to fight people, we have to fight with the mindset of the people. We have to change the mindset of the people. So, struggle against communalism. Following steps should be undertaken. First, it becomes the duty of the government, right? So the government should take punitive action. That means strict punishment should be given against people that cause communalism. Those people should be identified because they were the ones under the name of communalism. They set a nasty bus on fire, city bus on fire. Yes, they made a loss to lots of private vehicles and private buildings, government buildings. They smashed the windows, set the office on fire. They just take the advantage of the situation. So these people should be identified and very, very strict punishment should be given to them so that it sets an example in the society that such act of communalism will not be taken very lightly and they will be taken very, very seriously. Once very strict punishment is given, people living in the society, they will think twice before starting a riot. Second, education plays a very important role in eradicating communalism. We have seen that in India, there are still lots of states where literacy level is quite low. Where literacy level is high, people are well educated. They do not indulge in such matters because they don't have time, right? Because they have lots of work to do. They have to do the earning for the society, for the family, etc. We do not have time for this communalism, right? Because people are quite educated. They have their own work to do, right? We are all indulged from morning to evening in our own work, and we do not have time for these things, right? Where education is not there, belief will set in. Because of illiteracy, people do not know what is right and what is wrong. They are not aware of that, right? So education plays a very important role in eradicating communalism. Hence, education curriculum contains and should always contain positive things that students should learn and adopt in life. Yes, being in tension, remaining is in tension is very, very harmful both physically and mentally also. Yes, being educated people, we are aware of that thing. Yes, पिछले 4-5 महीने से घर में हो तो पता लगता है कि बाहर की दुनिया में जाना बहुत ज़रूरी है, रहना बहुत ज़रूरी है, right? So These things are not good for the health of the physical and mental health of the body. Same way, education curriculum is, if we are taught these things right from the childhood, and it is part of the education curriculum, that we are all equal in this society, no religion is high and low, as we are brothers and sisters. These things are taught right from the childhood, then that stays on a permanent way in the minds when these young children they become adults. So, moreover, prayers respecting humanity and all religions are done at the schools, which help students to maintain good and healthy feelings for all. Same way, prayers help a lot in calming your mind down, in concentrating. So, prayers are very, very helpful, and such prayers are selected which are directed towards one God, right? Such prayers where everybody can participate without thinking about the religion that they are following, because that prayer is not directed towards one particular religion. It is true for all the religion. We are just praying to God, whether whichever religion, each and every religion has a God, right? That means God is there. So such prayers are taught in school, which is directed towards God rather than targeting a particular religion. Such prayers and programs on communal harmony should also be done at social functions and other important functions. You must have seen that in the schools, usually uh, in the government schools, government buildings, there is a total ban that no celebrations will be done regarding any religion, right? In at state level, each and every state level, uh, holidays are given for some religious functions to everybody. If it is your religion, celebrate it. If it is not your religion, just enjoy the holiday, right? So holiday is given on Eid also, and holiday is given on Holi or Diwali also. Yes, on Christmas also, on 25th of December, right? That is also given, so that if that religion, if you are in that religion, you can celebrate your festival, you can be with your people, with the whole family, you can celebrate your religious festival. If it is not your religion, then you can stay home and enjoy, right? So in this way, we do not discriminate between religions. Yes, at par, everybody is equal. Political party having communal feelings very important, and mindset should not be given recognition. Political parties who just want to have the vote bank, right? Such political parties having communal feelings should not be recognized, because they are, these political parties, if they target a particular religion, yes, or people of that religion, and try to get the votes, then they are discriminating with others, right? So in that way, political parties having strong communal feelings should be not be recognized. Special ethics and rules are framed by the government while conducting elections and propagating for elections. They should be strictly followed. These things happen during the election time, that many of the political parties or many of the political leaders, they try to woo the uh, voters by representing themselves as belonging to a particular religion, which is very, very harmful. So during the election time, during the election manifesto, or during their election propaganda, their agenda, it should be seen that communalism is not included in it. So the government, with the help of election commission, it frames such rules that these uh, politicians, they are not able to woo the people belonging to a particular religion, so that their votes, they get their votes and they get elected, right? So this should be strictly followed. Radio, TV, cinema are the best audiovisual aid to reach common people. Through them, message of secularism and tolerance should be spread. For that, our Bollywood is quite famous. For that purpose, the Tollywood, that is Tamil Nadu or the southern states, they are also quite famous. Yes, in their TVs, in their movies, TV serials. Yes, each and every religion is at par, right? And they do not have, you see, the whole of the unit that the movie people have, right? people of all religion are working in it. Even the stories we see in the movies, they do not show us communal tension. They show us communal harmony, right? So these are very good to spread the message of communal harmony rather than communalism. Such type of program should be telecasted which promote national interest and nationalism. So it should be seen by the people making programs on the TV or broadcasting on the radio, that as we just discussed, rather than having communal tension, communal harmony feeling spread ho ऐसे message या ऐसे programs बनाए. Religious leaders and political leaders should work together to fight communalism. A very good example is set, for example, रथ यात्रा होती है या ईद होती है, right? So we have seen during these times that religious leaders of both the religion and all the religion of that area, they sit together along with the collector, police commissioner, or the police authority of that city, and they all talk at on the same platform that Rath Yatra is going to commence. Then all the religions will get together and make that Rath Yatra a success rather than having any communal tension. Same way, जो जुलूस वगैरह निकलता है, right, at that time again all the religious leaders, politicians, administration, policing force, all of them again sit together and they vow not to have any communal tension. So every time we see that all the religions, they are able to celebrate their religious festivals or processions very very coolly, very very calmly, without any tension, because the other community is very helpful in making it a success, right? And vice versa, when it is their turn of any religious celebration, we also allow them to have as much peace and as much goodwill as possible, so that they are able to enjoy their religious festivals in the same manner. So this last point is very good, that religious leaders and politicians, they should work hand in hand so that they can ease the tension of communalism. Youth must join hands and come forward to remove communalism. Yes, youth, upcoming youth, yes, which is highly educated, which is highly very friendly, right? They are aggressive, but then they are friendly also. Yes, because you see, even in your class, you have lots of friends belonging to other religion. You have been studying with them since, right, since the childhood. When you got admission in the school, you have been studying with them. Yes, you have known them as friends. So that same feeling of friendship and oneness should continue when you become young, right, when you become an adult. So this all these ideas are going to change the future of India, where communalism cannot be seen, but communal harmony can be seen, because we treat everybody equal. And uh, the youth, upcoming youth, which is quite highly educated, rather than having these communal feelings, their attitude should be scientific and logical attitude among the youth. They should be able to inculcate those scientific attitude in them rather than communal one. Youth must join hands and come forward. Okay, attempts must be made at the social and educational level to develop secular feelings and scientific and logical attitude towards the youth, that we already studied. Even society should support government and NGOs working to fight against communalism as far as possible. Everybody in the society, whether it is any organization, private hai, public hai, NGO hai, each and everyone should come together. Yes, a fine example can be given over here for the lots of NGOs who work in the slum areas, who work in the tribal areas. Yes, for them, the children of those slum areas or tribal areas or remote areas, they do not see what religion they belong to. They gather all of them and start with Kakhaga or ABCD and try to teach them a little bit of mathematics, right? Without looking at their religion. So many of these NGOs, they are very, very helpful in terminating or just cancelling the idea of communalism. All of them are working together. The children studying over there, at the time, they also feel that they are in a very good environment and where there is no differences in their religion, etc. So the idea spreads, and the main thing is when this idea spreads, automatically people who are students or children who are growing up, when they become young, when they become adult, then they will of course have that same mentality. We will be able to change the mindset of the people living in the society. People should be made to understand that national interest and national pride are above religion. We are Indian first, and then we go to the religion. Yes, which religion I belong to. First, I am an Indian. So there comes, whether you belong to any religion, first you are Indian. So that integrity can remain intact, and that integrity will not allow division in the society or division in the country. Whether you belong to any religion, caste, creed, state, language, whatever, they should also be made to understand that such feeling ties people in one thread and nurtures nationalism and national integrity. If we think of ourselves as Indian first and then a Gujarati, then that also helps, right? So this brings people together, ties them into one thread, and then they are able to think similar rather than having differences in between them. Educational institutions, students, youth can help solving the same point. Okay, moreover prayers. I think the same points are being repeated. Now we come to the second point, that is casteism. Yes. Now casteism comes from caste. People in the religion, they belong to different castes. People in the society, they also belong to the different castes. So discriminating, what is the definition? Discriminating people on the basis of their caste is called casteism. That is the definition of casteism. What is casteism? Casteism means differentiating people on the basis of their caste. Main phalana, tum dhimka, right? So everything starts from there. Automatically there is a division in the society, there is a division in the religion, there is a division in the area, right? That these caste people, they are more superior, these caste people, they are inferior, and so discrimination starts at each and every point. So wherever discriminating people on the basis of their caste is started, that thing is called casteism. Casteism exists in Indian society since the birth of the society, right? Because we divided this society, it was a very good idea to divide the society on the basis of the work that people do. That was the basic idea. But then somehow it went the wrong way, right? So the educators, the protectors of the society, the people who do business, and the people who do rest of the work. So that was the basic division of the society based on the work that they did. And then that thing continued, passed on from generation to generation, and then the society developed, population increased, and then the whole of the society became divided into caste. So in this regard, we can say that India's social structure is based on casteism, right? Because it's a very important line that India's social structure is based on caste. How? However, the concept of casteism was quite different in those days. The Indian society divided people belonging to various communities into different castes on the basis of work that they used to do. So we have that social ladder that you have learned or studied in the earlier standard. What is the social ladder in India? Belonging to whichever religion. Earlier it was Hinduism, then lots of religions came out of Hinduism, lots of religions came into India. Whichever religion came into India, they also got divided into caste based on the work that they do. Yes, so we have a basic social structure, that is casteism. In casteism, we have a social ladder where in the earlier times Brahmins were at the top, the people who were allowed to read and write, people who were allowed to have or acquire knowledge and teach the people how to read and write. So on the top were the Brahmins. Then came the Kshatriyas, that they were the protectors of the society. They protected the area, they protected the people. Yes, Then comes the Vaishyas, people who do business, right? So there also all the people who used to do business, either of trading or whatever, right? All of them, they were included in the ladder step, that is business, that is Vaishya. So we have four steps in the ladder. At the top is the Brahmin, then the Kshatriya, then the Vaishya, and last were the Shudras, who used to do the dirty work of the society, right? So this was the ladder that was created since ages, and people followed it accordingly. So now it becomes very strongly, the people follow the caste system and they consider themselves superior or inferior. According to the Varna system, then we just talked about the Varna system, people were divided into four castes, that is Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and the Shudra. This is the ladder that we just discussed right now, that is termed as Varna system. Varna, the section in the society, right? So we'll call it a social ladder, right? Where the Brahmins were at the top, Kshatriyas were at the second step, the third step Vaishyas, that's the business people, and at the end of the ladder is, and the last step is Shudras. The arrangement of residences was also based on the caste of the people. Whether it is a small town, whether it is a small village, or whether it's a city, people divided the residential areas into these ladders, the steps of these ladders, and according to that segment. People belonging to the higher class earned higher income, and those belonging to the lower caste earned meager income or small income. The lower caste people were always neglected and exploited, right? The upper caste people, because they had more money, more facility, more respect in the society, they earned more, right? They had huge farms, etc. in the olden days also, or they did quite a lot of business. So the upper caste society had quite a high earning, quite a high income, and those belonging to the lower caste, because education was not given to them, they did not get educated. So what happened? They had to do all the manual work, all the dirty work in the society. So they were discarded out of the town, they were discarded from the normal society, and thus the lower caste people, they were neglected and they were exploited over, because they were poor and they were helpless. Few communities living in the forest and mountainous regions also remained backward. Now we are talking about the backward society, which these societies were aloof, or they were quite all alone. People living in the hilly areas, mountainous areas, few people live, but they are living separately from the mainstream of the society, right? They are living separately in the mountains, in the hilly areas. Their population is small, but since lots of numbers of years, since centuries, they have been living secluded from the society, separate from the society, right? So these people also, they were not able to develop because the mainstream society did not include them, nor they wished to be included in the mainstream. Same thing happens to people who live in the forest area, or people who live on the islands. They are aloof from the society, they remain in the jungle, they have their own gods, they have their own way of living, their own way of wearing clothes, their own way of their own lifestyles. They do not want to get mixed up in the mainstream society. They did not want to get mixed up, so we also kept them aloof or separate from the society. We respected what in whatever condition they were, and they didn't come to us and ask them to develop themselves. So they remained backwards. Mainstream society, it advanced because as the time changes, yes, people kept on advancing, but those people remained backwards. They were not able to develop because they remained separate from the mainstream society. Social and cultural life, language, food habits, etc. of these communities was quite different from the others. That also we just discussed. Even their gods were different. They followed different gods. They did not follow the religion that the mainstream societies followed. They followed their own customs, traditions, their own food habits. They had their own language, and they had their own cultural and traditional and social life. So these communities, they always remained separate throughout these centuries, and that is why they remained backwards. Since these people had been living separately from generation to generation, they could not develop as others. Hence, they remained backward economically and socially. Constitutional provision for protection of interests of minorities, weak and backward classes. We have three things over here. First thing is minority, next is weak and the backward classes, the weak classes and the backward classes. Now, these are the uh, constitutional provisions, that means facilities given to the people, so that now when the first word comes in the constitution is equality. Now, are these people equal to the mainstream society? No, they are not, because the mainstream society is quite advanced and these people are backwards. Is there equality? No. So special compensation should be given to them so that their life is lifted up, or they are uplifted, and we have to give them opportunities so that they can do better for themselves, their upliftment can happen. So due to casteism, people belonging to some caste developed much and some became backwards, right? Because of the casteism, the higher class society, yes, it kept on developing, it became more richer, it became more affluent, more powerful, whereas the castes which were discriminated because they were in the category of the lower castes, then those people, they were not able to develop and they remained extremely weak and extremely backward. After India became independent, it became extremely important to balance the social structure. Now one is quite high, one is low. So जो हाई पे है उसको नीचे नहीं लाना है, लेकिन जो नीचे है उसको ऊपर लाना है. कैसे करेंगे? By giving them special some sort of different facilities so that they can uplift themselves. As a result, many provisions were made in the constitution for the first thing is protection, second is welfare, progress of the minorities, weaker section, and the backward society classes. Right? So lots of provisions were, lots of added facility. Provision over here means added facilities that are given to them so that they can uplift themselves and bring at par with the other communities, or they can bring at par, or they can develop themselves and become equal with the rest of the society. So something additional has to be given to them. Yes, as a result, many provisions were made in the constitution for the protection of these people, for the welfare of these people, for the upliftment and progress of these people. These people are minorities, these are weaker sections, and they belong to the backward classes. The constitutional provisions have been provided to protect their interest. Yes, to eradicate social equality and to work for their welfare and development. Nobody is asking them to change their culture, custom, tradition. They can keep on following whatever religion they follow, whatever customs, traditions they have. They are free. They have full liberty to carry out their customs, traditions, and all those things. Yes, we are not interfering in their matters. But, for example, in the forest, there is no school, and that is why education was not there. Now, when they come to the city, they see lots of people. All the people, they are quite highly educated. Even the boys and girls, small boys and girls, they are going to the school. They have a question in their mind: हमारे forest में, हमारे village में क्यों नहीं है? Right? They also want to give good education to their children. So, if you understand my point, this is how we are working, right? That they are not ready to come out, right, from the hilly areas, from the mountainous areas. Yes, since centuries, since lots of time they have been living over there. Lots of generations have lived over there. They have a right to live over there. We are not taking away their rights. But if they are not in the mainstream, then we should go over there and include them in our mainstream and to work for their welfare and development. Characteristics of these provisions are as follows. Constitution of India guarantees or grants them equal social, economic, political justice to all the Indians. This is written in the Constitution. Then each and every citizen of India is granted equal social, economic, and political justice. Equal justice, social justice, economic justice, political justice to all the citizens of India. According to the, we are working according to the constitution. It is written over there to give them equality, right? So in order to make them equal, we have to give them such special facilities. According to the Indian constitution, there will be no discrimination on the basis of community, caste, religion, language, sex, etc. Right? This is all written in the constitution. We are just trying to follow it. It's also mentioned in the constitution that it is the fundamental right of every citizen to get equal opportunity and equal status. It is his right. We are not doing something extra. Please bear in mind, we are not doing any extra for them. We are not giving them extra leverage, right? But we are doing exactly what is written in the constitution. The constitution gives them right, fundamental right of each and every citizen. So if one citizen, his child has the right to go to school, then that child living in the forest also has a right to go to school. That child living in the mountainous area also must be given provision to go to school. And if the island people cannot send the children to the mainland, then the government should go to the island and set up schools and colleges over there, so that those people can also send the children to what, to sorry, children to school. So if we are not able to, if they are not able to come to us, it becomes our duty, because it's written in the constitution. The constitution also provides certain powers to the state, so that the state can impose certain restriction on certain fundamental rights in order to protect weaker and backward class of the society. Now the country of India is divided into 29 large states of big and small size, right? So we have 29 states. Now worst thing over here is each and every state has a different composition. Each and every state has a different composition of people belonging to either one religion or sect और लैंग्वेज etc. तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम होता है. So the constitution has given the right not only to the central government, but it has given a right to the state government also, because the state government is aware of the constitution or composition of their state, so they can take more better steps, they can make more better rules and regulations, so that these people belonging to minorities, weaker or the backward classes, they can be uplifted by doing some marginal change in the rules and regulations, or by giving special facilities to these people. The right to religion gives freedom to follow any religion. The main objective behind providing constitution help to minorities, weaker section and the backward class is to offer, first is equal opportunities, second is justice and status in the country. Their status is low because they are weak, they are backward. Now that status can be uplifted, right? So to uplift that status, whatever the state government can do, whatever the central government can do, they are exercising their powers, so that these weaker sections, these backward classes or these minorities can uplift themselves, because better privileges and facilities are given to them. The government takes care of these classes even in the 5-year plan. In the 5-year plan also, yes, for example, we have those Samras hostels over here, right? Recently built. Now the government is giving grant for that, right? So if it is not included in their planning, then these Samras hostels cannot come up, yes, which allows people or minorities, people of the backward classes to stay in these hostels in the towns and cities and carry on with their studies. They don't have to think about the expenditure that they do have to do out of station. With this, we come to an end to today's lecture. Thank you, students.